Hi guys, thanks for watching the video. We're going to work on some notes today, learning rhythms. And I know that at first some of this is going to seem kind of dull and repetitive and review-like for some of you. You're way beyond this. Just struggle through it with me and we'll get through it quick and get to the fun stuff. So let's get started. The first thing we want to do is look at notes, and we'll start with the first one, the largest one, which is a whole note. Now normally we play our songs in 4/4, which means that the whole note will last for 4 beats. Okay? Now you go on down the line. This is a half note. Obviously a half note is 2 beats. Then we have quarter notes. That's 1 beat apiece. Okay, those are basic, those are easy. You guys know those already. Where it gets more interesting is when we divide those. And so we take a quarter note. This is an eighth note. Eighth note is worth a half a beat. So 2 eighth notes equals a quarter, 2 quarters equals a half, etc., etc. This is a 16th note. Notice the difference here between the 8th note and the 16th note. Okay, so now that we've got those notes, let's talk very quickly about rests, since sometimes our rhythms are going to be determined by what rests are in between the notes that we're playing. This is a whole rest. You can see that the bar is below the line. That means that we rest for that entire measure. This is a half rest. The bar is above the line. That's resting for 2 beats. Usually you'll find that in the first 2 beats of a measure, and then we play the second 2. This is a quarter note rest. Obviously we rest for 1 beat. This is an 8th rest. And this is a 16th rest. It's a language, and just like you need to learn what A, B, C, and D look like, in order to be a good musician, you have to know what each of these notes look like, what each of these rests look like, and be able to act on them without having to think about it. So, if some of these symbols are foreign to you, take a little bit of extra time, make sure that you learn what each of them look like so that you have them down. Otherwise, the next couple of videos are going to be really frustrating. Okay, now let's talk about key signatures and how these notes fit into measures. Every piece of music that we do has a key signature. This tells us how many beats are in a measure and what note value equals a beat. Now most of the time if we're doing a 4/4, the number on top, the 4, means there are 4 beats in every measure. The number on bottom is a 4, and that means a quarter note, or a fourth of the measure if that helps. A quarter note gets the beat. So there are 4 quarter notes in each measure. Now most of the time we'll do 4/4. Sometimes we'll have a 3/4, which just means there are 3 beats in a measure. Or sometimes we'll do a 6/8, which means there are 6 beats in each measure, and the 8th note is a beat. Okay, now that we know those basic things, let's talk a little bit about getting a common language for how we count rhythms. This is one of the things that makes it difficult to convey what needs to be played if I'm thinking one thing in my head of here's how I'm counting off, and you've got something different, or someone else has something different in my head. So let's settle on one way of counting this off, and we'll use sort of a basic method that's common in bands, jazz bands, rock bands. For the basic beats, let's take a 4/4 for example. For the basic beats, we're going to just count quarter notes as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. Okay, that's simple. Now, eighth notes come in between those, and so we're going to count an eighth note as an and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So, if I said, hey, we need to come in on the and of 2, that means that we need to come in on the 8th note after beat 2, 1 and 2 and. Or if I say this entire chorus, every chord change comes on the and of 4 right before the downbeat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's 8th notes. Then sometimes we get into 16th note rhythms, which are a little trickier. The way that we'll count those off is 1 E and a. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Now, it sounds kind of weird to say I need to come on the E of 3, but that's a basic language that we can use. Sometimes you're going to need to count these rhythms off in your head in order to stay on track and to keep track of when these syncopations come. Most of the time it's going to be eighth notes, but sometimes it'll be sixteenths. So we need to be able to do all of those. So take a little bit of time, think about those things, practice those things. If you're way beyond this, then just skip ahead and we'll have the next lesson out next week. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.